Okay, we're now recording. So thank you, Anna.
Thanks so much, Sam. I'm really glad to be here. So this session is about open access funding updates, and the slides link is in the chat. Feel free to follow along or consult those later. This is me. I'm Anna Kraft. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the coordinator of scholarly communications here in the UNCG University Libraries. Y'all who are publishing or thinking about publishing probably know that when you're publishing open access, those costs can really add up. And luckily, we have some great options to help with funding in this area. So I'm excited to get to talk about this today. And whether you have used some of our funding agreements in the past, or whether you're coming from another institution where you had access to publish our funding agreements, or whether you're brand new to this, we have got information for you today. So we've got continuing agreements with the publishers that we had in 2025, but we also have some updates and new information to share. So here's what we will talk about. Some quick funding basics. We'll talk about all of the APC deals and discounts that we have. I'll mention the Open Access Publishing Fund. We'll talk through some questions and concerns and share where to go for more information if questions come up later. So let's dive in. So just some reminders. Y'all are probably all familiar with this terminology, but closed access is our kind of traditional subscription-based paywall content. So it's not open. Where open access, paywall, and no subscription, that scholarship is available to all readers at no cost, without barriers. And because it is so available, it's associated with higher citation rates and higher readership than closed access. But the issue that we often run into with open access is that the funding model is different. Because there are not those subscriptions, we have a different funding model, and that is often what's called article processing charges, or APCs. And this shifts those costs to authors, which can create some real challenges. So luckily, we have funding agreements with 8 academic publishers right now. Some of them offer complete APC waivers where the author would not have to pay at all, and some have APC discounts that would just simply reduce the cost a little bit. If you're submitting your manuscript to a publisher that we work with, make sure that your UNCG affiliation is clear. Use your UNCG email address and or select UNCG as your affiliated institution when you are in that submission process. And if you are submitting your work and want to take advantage of one of the deals that we have, make sure that you are aware of the requirements related to authorship. For many of our publisher deals, the eligibility hinges on the funded author being the corresponding author of the paper. So that's the person who has primary responsibility for communicating with the journal through submission, review, and publication. So you don't need to be like the first author, you need to be this corresponding author. And if you have co-authors who are at other institutions, they may have different, better, worse funding agreements with publishers. So it can help you to talk to your co-authors, find out what options they may have, and then kind of strategize who should take the corresponding author role to try to get the best funding coverage. And you may hear our Roomba trying to get into my office right now. Sorry about that. So there are some things to be aware of with this. Some of our publisher funding deals are what we call capped, which means there's limited availability. We only have a certain number of APCs within a given year. And some of them are time limited. So that's generally a calendar year. And then they would potentially be renegotiated after that time. And making things extra complex is that funding eligibility is usually based on the manuscript acceptance date, so not the submission date. This can make things really challenging because we don't know how long review is going to take, when you're going to be accepted. And just because there are APC waivers at the time you submit does not always mean that there will be at the time that you are accepted. So this can cause some problems, to be frank. And some of our publisher funding agreements include limits on what journals are eligible. A common distinction in this area is that there is only funding for what we would call gold or for hybrid journals within a given agreement. And if you're not sure about this terminology, we're going to talk through it pretty quickly. They both offer the same experience for readers. So what we think of as that full, you might even call it gold, open access experience of free to read. So regardless of whether you're publishing in a gold or hybrid journal, the availability of your work will be the same. But there are some differences that authors should be aware of on the journal publication and funding model side. So with gold open access, all of the content in that journal is open access, and there is not a choice about whether your article will be open or closed. So typically these are funded through APCs, unless they're what we call a platinum journal, where the journal funding is subsidized through another institution like a library or something like that, and there are no APCs. But typically gold journals are funded through APCs, and all the content is open. With hybrid open access, the journals are actually subscription based. So it's closed access, but the individual authors have an option of determining they want to pay an APC to make their individual article open access. So in this case, you have a choice. If you don't want to pay an APC or you're not able to, you could publish closed. If you want your work to be open access, you could pay the APC and make it open. One thing to be aware of with this, and not to make any of you not want to publish in these journals, but just thinking about this funding model, this is kind of a tricksy one because journals sometimes get paid twice. So a library may be subscribing to the journal as a whole. We can't just subscribe to part of a journal. And then we might be paying again through the author on our campus, paying for their article to be published open access. So publishers like this model because sometimes they can be paid twice for the same content. So that's a challenge with this. But when you need to publish open access and it's the right journal for you, sometimes that's the right decision. So how can I tell if my journal is gold or hybrid? This language is not always used directly by journals. This one, for example, family relations, is what we would call a hybrid journal, but we don't see that language on like their front page. So diving a little bit deeper, I would go to the About page or About dropdown and look for open access language. So here I see OA advantages, click through to there, and here we start to see that hybrid language showing up. So here they're describing that compared to subscription articles, our open access articles in hybrid journals get more views, get more citations, get higher altmetric scores. So this is an example of a hybrid journal where you have a choice between subscription and open. Here we're looking at the Journal of Avian Biology, and this one is a gold open access journal. But again, that language is not directly used. They just call themselves open access. We see that in the header here, and we see it on the front page in their description. So they say that they are an open access journal. In this case, all of the content is available openly, and authors are assessed an article processing charge. So quick ways to think about this. If the journal says that all content is available openly, that's gold, or possibly platinum if there's no APC. If the journal states that authors have the option of making their article available via open access through paying an APC, that's a hybrid journal. And if you're ever not sure about this, especially if you're publishing with one of our publishers where they only offer funding for gold versus hybrid, please reach out to me. This is something that I can help with, because sometimes this distinction can be the difference between having or not having funding. All right, so let's talk more about what we can offer. These are the publishers that we work with right now. American Chemical Society, Cambridge University Press, Elsevier, IGI Global, MDPI, Sage, Springer Nature, and Wiley. And we have an online guide linked here that I keep up to date with the latest information. There is a lot to read there. So if you're not finding what you are looking for, or you're not sure about something, or you want to make sure you've got the latest information, you're always welcome to reach out to me. And cost ranges, so this is 2025 data. This does sometimes change. APC ranges really vary. The really cheap ones you see, like $50, and the really expensive ones, like the 5-figure ones with Elsevier and Springer, are very uncommon. We typically see them more in the mid-range, but across different publishers, there can be a real variance with what APC cost may be. And if you have a waiver with one of our publishers, it will cover the whole cost no matter what it is. But if you have a discount, if it's a publisher that only offers a discount deal, you're really going to want to be aware of, well, regardless, you're going to want to be aware of what APC costs are with your journals. Also, this is rare, but some journals do have additional publication costs beyond APCs. The publisher deals that we offer cover just APC costs or APC discounts. They don't cover other fees. What might other fees be? So sometimes you might find page charges, image charges, color charges, and there's a limited number of journals with Springer Nature that have what's called a rapid service fee. I think those are typically more in like the medical areas where they're trying to get things out very quickly. These are not common charges, but again, read your documentation carefully so that you understand what fees may be associated with your journal. And if you're at all concerned about the legitimacy of charges associated with any journal, especially those we don't partner with, please contact me, because there are, unfortunately, bad actors, what we call predatory publishers, that are trying to trick people to pay them to publish. And also, not all of our funding deals are necessarily forever. So today we're covering what we have available in 2026. It is possible that some things may change in 2027, future years. So again, if you're not sure of what's available at a time when you are submitting your work, you can reach out to me. So diving in with our publishers, our first one is ACS. And just a quick take on them, we have continuing a great deal with them where we've got full APC cost coverage for both gold and hybrid journals. One thing to note about ACS, though, is that we have seen increased demand as people are using this deal more, finding out about it. So this is a capped deal. We only have a certain number of APC vouchers. And based on what we have seen over the past couple of years, it is possible that this deal could hit its cap before the end of 2026. It is not likely to happen until later this year. Can't say for sure that that will happen, but it is possible. So the rundown on this, again, limited APC vouchers. Anyone who's a corresponding author at UNCG is eligible. As you might guess, this is a chemistry-focused deal. And again, this is great coverage because it's both gold and hybrid journals. This deal does expire at the end of 2026. We have not yet negotiated what 2027 would look like. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you use your UNCG email address. And if you'd like to see their journals, they're linked here. Next is Cambridge. We don't have any changes in 2026. This is in some ways our best deal because it is uncapped. There's no limit. And it includes both gold and hybrid journals. So anyone who publishes with Cambridge this year can publish for free. They have broader subject coverage than ACS, humanities, social sciences, many areas. All of their online journals are eligible. This is another deal that expires this year. We don't know what 2027 availability would be with this. If you'd like to see the journals that are available, that info is linked from their site, and more information about this deal is available on their website. Elsevier is another continuing publisher. With them, we have coverage with hybrid journals only. So we do not have APC coverage for their gold journals. There are no changes to this deal this year. This is a capped deal. We have not run into this cap in our previous years. It's possible that this could happen, but I have not seen any concern yet that we are getting to that point, or that 2026 would, well, anything could happen in 2026, I suppose. So if something happens, it would probably be later in the year. Elsevier is a science-focused publisher, but does have some coverage in other areas. And what's important to know about this is that you can search for journals that are eligible. They've got a little module on their site that will tell you exactly what's in our deal and what's not. And they've got over 2,300 journals that are in this deal. So this is a lot of journals that are available. Springer is our next one. This one is very similar to Elsevier. So we have continuing cost coverage for APCs in hybrid journals only. And it's the same kind of situation. This is a capped deal. We have not been running into this cap or getting close. Anything could happen, but so far the trajectory is that we will continue to have coverage unless demand grows a lot, which could happen. Who can say? Springer is, again, primarily science focused, but they do have some coverage in other areas. And again, this is hybrid journals only. So this is another one that expires this year. And if you'd like to see the journals that are eligible, there are over 2,000 of them, and there is a spreadsheet downloadable from Springer that will tell you. But also, this is something that I can help with if you have questions about which journals are eligible for what deal. Wiley, this is the one that has caused us the most challenges over the last few years. So this one's a little bit complex. We have unlimited coverage for APCs in Wiley's hybrid journals. So if you're publishing in a hybrid journal with Wiley, you're covered. We have a very limited pool for gold APCs. And this, like both Elsevier and Springer, is a shared deal with some other institutions in the Carolina Consortium, so some other higher education institutions. This Wiley deal has hit its cap the past couple of years, and almost definitely, I would be shocked if it did not hit its cap in 2026. So we're planning as if it will hit the cap within the last couple of months of 2026, if we make it that far. So we just started a new year with Wiley as of January 1st. So we right now have our new voucher pool that people are publishing and making use of with those gold journals. And again, with hybrid journals, coverage is unlimited. Wiley is another primarily science-focused publisher. This deal is the most challenging to navigate. And if you are trying to figure out what to do with this, what's eligible, what availability is looking like, please let me know. This deal will turn over January 1st, 2027. We will have a new pool of gold vouchers, and we would have continuing coverage of the hybrid journals. So there will be no interruption with coverage of hybrid journals. But if you're publishing with Wiley and your article is accepted maybe in November or December, or at some point in 2026 when we don't have gold vouchers, you would be responsible for covering that APC. So this deal is causing some problems. If you'd like to see the different journals that are available, the gold journals are linked here, the hybrid journals at the bottom. And another thing to be aware of is that certain society memberships may get you discounts with Wiley. So just be aware of that. And then the cost ranges for their gold and hybrid journals can really vary. Okay, moving right along. Now we're switching over to our discount deals. So we've covered all the ones that have APC vouchers, now the ones that have APC discounts. Sage offers a 10% APC discount only with gold journals. You may be able to get better discount options through another method with Sage. And we do have, I will talk more about this in a moment, the Open Access Publishing Fund, which may be able to help with some of the costs that would remain after that 10% discount. So Sage has more social sciences focused coverage. Again, only their gold journals are eligible. They do sometimes offer other discounts like society membership discounts, student discounts, other things. They do not allow stacking of deals. So say you got a 15% discount for being a society member or something, just as an example. You would not be able to combine that with our 10% discount, sadly. I'll talk about how the Open Access Publishing Fund plays into this in just a moment. Another one that's expiring at the end of 2026, I think they may have changed their modules so this you don't have to email now, but I would make sure when you are submitting your work to check that. The discount is through the Carolina Consortium, and make sure if you're publishing with Sage that that discount is applied with a gold journal. IGI Global. With them, we only have a 5% APC discount, so this is not very much. And this, of all of our deals, is the only one that is available to only UNCG faculty. So all the other ones are available to anybody who has a UNCG email address. This one, by request of IGI, I'm not sure why, is only for faculty. And their subject areas are pretty broad. All their journals are eligible. They're only an open access publisher. They also publish books and edited books where there would be chapters, but those charges are calculated separately. So I would check to see if you could get a discount if you're publishing with them in a book, but I'm not sure that that's guaranteed. Next is MDPI. With them, we have a 10% APC discount, and this applies to both article processing charges and book processing charges. So if you're publishing a book with MDPI, you could get this discount. They're primarily a sciences and technology publisher. All their journals and books are eligible. Of all of the publishers that we work with, this is the one that I would encourage the most critical thinking with. Of course, you want to think critically about any publication venue that you are using. But we have seen certain journals with MDPI that maybe have not had great editorial oversight or practices. You can read more about that on Wikipedia at the link here. Not all of the journals that MDPI publishes are eligible for funding through the Open Access Publishing Fund. So if you're publishing with MDPI and you want to apply to the OAPF, which I will say more about, make sure that your journal is eligible before you proceed. This is essentially an ongoing deal. And this is another publisher that sometimes offers other discounts, like for peer review activities and other things. Okay, quick recap. The publishers that we work with, the waivers or discounts that you might expect. All of this is also on our guide. And now I want to say a little bit about the OA Publishing Fund, although I'll stop. Sam, are there any questions?
There's no chat questions in the chat right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our Open Access Publishing Fund, it offers awards of up to $1,500 that can help offset APC costs if you're publishing maybe with a publisher that we don't work with, or if you're publishing in a deal where we have just a discount and not full APC coverage. There are some limits on eligibility. The full $1,500 funding is only available to full-time faculty, full-time EHRA employees, and enrolled graduate students. And only one author per paper can receive funding. So if you have multiple UNCG authors, only one per paper can apply. And authors are only eligible for one of these awards per academic year. So that, again, this may be an opportunity to strategize with co-authorship. And it doesn't matter in this case if you're corresponding author or not, just as long as you are an author of the paper. But if you do have co-authors, you may want to talk about who's going to apply to the OIPF in what situation. So far, we're continuing to have funding in this area. This is a fund that's combined through the effort of the UNCG University Libraries and the Office of Research and Engagement. So these two groups provide this funding. We have not seen the OAPF run out of funds the past couple of years. Things could happen. It is always possible that we could run out based on increasing demand. Right now, that's not what I would forecast. If that does happen, we would make sure that that messaging is on our website. But if that does happen, we would not be able to offer further funding within this academic year to offset those costs. Not all journals are eligible for this funding. So in the very least, the journal needs to be published in a peer-reviewed open access journal. And then it should also be, that journal should be in the directory of open access journals, or DOAJ. There are some exceptions to this. Often these exceptions come with someone publishing in a hybrid journal. So DOAJ is for gold open access. If you're publishing in a hybrid open access journal, it is likely not going to be listed there, but it still may be eligible for funding. So this is a situation where the review committee would review that request, although they review all requests, of course. But if you're uncertain about a journal's potential eligibility, please contact us. You can contact me or my colleague, Christine Fisher, who I think is here today, who oversees the review committee. And these eligibility requirements are in place to help avoid funding predatory journals. That's what we're trying to not happen. We're not going to go into great detail about journal quality today, but there are some tools. Think, Check, Submit, journal evaluation tool. We do presentations about this sometimes, so we've got some slides and recordings if you're interested in learning more about this topic. We do encourage people who are going to apply as soon as possible when their manuscript is accepted. Requests are considered in the order that they're received. Generally, the reviews happen very quickly, within a couple of days, or certainly within a week, unless there are extenuating circumstances. Any changes to funding availability would be shared on the webpage. And again, you can contact me or Christine about this. Okay, so now let's talk about some potential questions and concerns. We have seen, especially with Wiley, questions about authors wanting to hold the acceptance of an article. So maybe the vouchers have run out within a year, an article is accepted maybe soon after that, and we have seen authors ask if it's possible to defer acceptance until vouchers do become available. So you can ask the publisher. We have not seen this be a successful tactic though. So it is not likely that this strategy would work. You can always ask, but typically we have not seen success. We also sometimes get questions with concern about, oh my gosh, is the library having to pay an extra $4,000 for me to publish with ACS? In this situation, the answer is no. Because of the deals that we have negotiated with all these publishers, the payments have already been made for whatever the agreed cost was. And it is not costing us an extra $4,000 or whatever the charge is. So you should consider this information to be simply informational. This is how much it would have cost me if my library did not have a funding agreement with this journal or publisher. We also see questions about certain areas of research not being represented. And you may have noticed during this talk that the publisher deals we have are really weighted more heavily toward the sciences than the social sciences or humanities. So not all research areas are going to be covered. There may not be good journal options for everyone. Not all publishers offer these types of deals, and we have not been able to successfully negotiate deals with every publisher that we have pursued. If you have recommendations for publishers that you want us to have a deal with, you can always ask. It doesn't mean that we would be able to make that happen, but it is good to know where interest is. So my colleague Tim Bucknell is the one that handles this right now. His contact information is here. We also get questions about how to find a journal that offers APC waivers. So we don't have a master list of all the journals within all of the publishers, but within the individual publishers, you can often find a list or other tools that will help you navigate and maybe identify a journal. So Elsevier has a great tool that will tell you which journals are eligible. Sage, which of course offers only discounts, has a little finder tool, but you want to make sure you select gold journals and not their full suite of gold and hybrid. Wiley has pretty robust tools to help people find journals that are eligible. Other publishers generally at least have like a list, and you may be able to browse or narrow down by subject. This is also something that your library liaison may be able to help with. So remember that they are part of this equation too. What happens if my funding request is denied and it seems like I should be eligible? So we have seen errors. If you receive a waiver denial from one of our publishers and you think it's incorrect, contact me and I will look into it. If your denial relates to the Open Access Publishing Fund, the message that you receive should include an explanation. So make sure to review those guidelines and even check with us before you're submitting your request. This is another challenging thing. So what if I leave UNCG while my manuscript is under review for one of these funding opportunities? If you separate from UNCG prior to acceptance, you do lose eligibility, and this includes graduate students. So, and that's the group that we typically see the most run into difficulties with this. So one way to avoid this happening, or one way to avoid being on the hook for APC costs, is to select a hybrid journal. And then you would have the option of publishing closed access and an APC if you're no longer eligible for funding. If you're publishing in a gold journal, you would be on the hook for paying that APC, unless you are transferring to an institution that offers one of these, a similar funding deal through like the same publisher. We have been able to move authors from our deal to another deal when they've switched institutions. So keeping this in mind when you're thinking about your review and publication timelines and when you're selecting your corresponding author, because if a graduate student is submitting a co-authored paper and there's only a pretty tight timeline to acceptance before graduation, for funding purposes, it may be better to have a different co-author who is not about to graduate. Although I know that sometimes we want our graduate students to get this experience as being a co-author or being the corresponding author. So this can be a difficult line to walk. If you're really concerned about funding and you want to make sure you will not have to pay an APC, again, going with a hybrid journal may be the best bet, because then if funding is not available, you can publish closed with no APC. If you really need to publish open access, though, publishing in a deal like Cambridge, where it's unlimited, that would be probably a good bet. Although Cambridge is not going to have the best journal for everyone, sadly. So what if there's no deal with my publisher? The OIPF won't cover my full APC costs. What else can I do? So you can just go ahead and publish in a closed or subscription-based journal. And then you could share your work potentially through an open access repository like NC Docs. And shout out for NC Docs. We have, we're in kind of the final stages of a migration cleanup. Our brand new site is available, linked here. We haven't done a lot of public promotion yet because there's still some things we're working out with, especially author profiles. But if you want to look at it, it is a great improvement. And we are accepting, work submissions to be open access, to be added to NC Docs. So please, contact us at uncg.edu if you're interested. We'll probably offer a session with more details about this maybe later this semester. But back to funding considerations. If you're in a financial hardship situation, it can sometimes work to contact the publisher and try to negotiate or ask for them to lower or potentially waive your APC. We don't always see this work. The worst that they can say is no, of course. We have seen publishers work with authors in certain situations. So if this is something that you may need to do, I do have some potential strategies, so you're welcome to reach out to me. But again, this is not going to work in all situations, and certain publishers are going to be more receptive to this than others. And also, if you have co-authors at other institutions, again, kind of strategize with them because other institutions may have OA funding options that could potentially help. All right, I think that's all that we've got. So if you have questions moving forward, your liaison librarian is a great first step. They've got that subject expertise. They can sometimes help with identifying publication venues. You're always welcome to contact me with questions about open access. My colleague Christine is in charge of the Open Access Publishing Fund. And my colleague Tim is part of the Carolina Consortium that does a lot of work with negotiating these deals with publishers. All right. At this time, I'm going to stop sharing. And wow, sometimes my camera will do this wild thing where it turns the picture like really blue purple, but I see that didn't happen this time. So great.
It happened to me the other day. I had to restart my computer. It's the only thing that fixes it. So I dropped all this stuff in the chat. Sorry to take up the chat. But if there's any questions, y'all can unmute too now or put it in the chat, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, this was a ton of information. I know we're still early in the semester and probably, maybe I should just speak for myself, feeling very distracted by what is going to happen or not happen this weekend. Who can say? For those watching this in the future, we are potentially about to have a snow or ice or weather event. Good luck to us all.
Okay, people are saying thank you.
Well, thanks for being here, y'all, on this day when there is really a lot to think about. And if questions come up in the future, know that you are welcome to reach out. I will be glad to work with you. And good luck this weekend. Stay safe and warm, everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, thanks, Anna. I'll see you soon. And thanks, everyone. Bye.
All right, bye.